Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Inspire Her. We are too excited to be here. How are you,
Yes.
Red?
I am
How you
good.
feeling
I am
today?
good. I'm feeling pretty good
You
today.
know what, guys, listen. I don't know about y'all, but y'all know it's about to be that special month coming up next month.
Yes. And you
Y'all
did well.
know,
You did
November
well.
is November is coming up, but I'm gonna let y'all have the rest of October. I'm gonna let y'all have the rest of October. November's coming up, though. I just want to let y'all know the countdown is coming. It's coming. But today we have a very, very special guest. We have a very, very special topic. October, we've already talked about, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we have Lady Melinda Sue, who is on here to have a conversation with us. Lady Melinda Sue is also an author. Her book is called Cracked, Not Shattered. And she will talk to us about her story of domestic violence. A lot of times people don't want to discuss what goes on behind closed doors because they feel some kind of way about it. But we appreciate you for coming on and joining us tonight and being brave enough to talk to us about your story and helping other women. You just had a gala last week that helps
Mm.
women and collects money for fundraising. So, talk to us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your projects going on, your organization, all of that. Melinda?
Now she's stuck.
As
Stuck?
stated, also,
Oh, there you go. Can you repeat
Go ahead,
it?
start over because you were stuck for a minute. Sorry, guys.
it's okay. Hi, my name is Melinda Hunter, as stated earlier, and also known as Lady Melinda Sue. I am from Sylvania, Georgia. Felicia, Fee,
Fee?
Fee is my cousin. and
Okay.
make sure and make sure I get it right, not Fee Fee Fuffo, but Fee.
Whatever you want to call me, whatever y'all call me.
Exactly. Yeah. And so yeah, I am a big advocate when it comes to domestic violence. I have had some experiences and I'm fine with sharing my story um because it's not who I am and it's not what I was. However, I see it as from being a victim to a victor. And so therefore I had to learn, I had to get tired of being tired to get to where I am today. And so I have one sibling. Before I get into all of that, let me finish
Mhm.
introducing myself. I do have one sibling, and I also have another book published, which is Breakthrough 21 days for your breakthrough. And that's actually a journal for 21 days that you follow. Has the scripture in there. It has the like where you can make your plans for today, 3. And then at the end of the day, you do a reflect as to what you did and did not do. And then just do your stuff. It's like it's a way of accountability within yourself,
Mm.
maintaining integrity and getting things accomplished. Um, yeah. I am the founder of Grace International Light also. And again, that's an organization, faith-based organization, and it's not gender specific because when God gave me the vision, he showed me that it's not just women that go through the different things, but it's also both genders.
Mhm.
And so that's what he wanted to be, not gender specific, and it's not gender specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
Been
did.
to your gala, and it's an awesome gala. And people come, um, and they open up and share. I had a friend who is a male friend, and he came and he shared his story. So you're right. It's
Mhm.
not just females that go through domestic violence. So
Mhm.
I applaud you for that, and I commend you for having that every year, and it gets better every year. I didn't get a chance to go this year, but I heard that it was awesome. So I commend
Yes.
you for that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
tell us about your story. Tell us, what happened to get you to this point to be such a supporter and a dynamic helper to other women and men in their
Mhm.
journey?
Well, like when you're courting, you're dating or whatever, you see the signs.
Mm-hmm.
I say in my case, I saw the red flag, but I made the red flag orange or either yellow. Sometimes it was hot, but whatever it was, I dummied down um the red flag that was there. And so with that, being a
Right.
Christian, well, things will get better. I have faith. They have faith, that things will get better. And again, this is like all in the courting stages. So that's the reason for courting, is so that you can get an idea of
Mm-hmm.
the person's personality, what makes it, okay, this will trigger something negative, this will trigger something positive. Okay, I don't like the
Mhm.
reaction to this. So that's all that takes place in the courting. Well, in the process of courting, the flags were there. However, I'll say I compromised what I was willing to accept. And so after being in the relationships and stuff,
Right.
I just realized I was losing more and more and more of myself. One thing about a victim is, in their mind, it's going to get better. So then the person apologizes. Within a matter of days, if the same time, here you go, it happens again. And so then I just, in both cases, I've just made up my mind. I was like, you know what? Somebody's going to really get hurt, because I was at a breaking point at that time. I was at a breaking point. And so when you get to a breaking point, it's like, for me, by me being at my breaking point at that time, I just didn't care. All I knew is that don't. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to think like this. I was in a major the don'ts. And then I had to make a decision.
Right.
And even in the process, and as a matter of fact, in both cases, well, in the past, I've actually ended up having a mental meltdown. One time, one was a mental meltdown, and the other one was an actual nervous breakdown. And because in that, you can't believe it's happening to you. You know, I'm
Right.
a
Mm-hmm.
why are they talking to me like this? Why are they treating me like this? I know I don't deserve this. But somehow in your mind, when you're really holding on to your wedding vows, then you just pray and believe that it's going to get better. And then when you get tired of being tired, or when you feel like I know I've lost sight of Melinda. So therefore, when I got to the point where I could say, okay, I don't know what to think. I mean, who am I? And
So did you find yourself being a because I know Melinda. Did you find yourself being a different, I know you said you were like, who am I? But did you find yourself being a different person and looking outside yourself and saying, you know, what made me get here? What, where you
where
sit
am I?
down, where,
Yeah.
how did I get here? Like, how did I
Yes.
get, was it love? Was it the fact that you wanted to save your marriage? Was it, what was it that made you sit there for that minute?
All of it. Nobody gets married with the mindset I'm going to get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And in the courting, a person can, the truth will tweak right on out. And so even in the midst of it, I'm saying to myself, well, this is not the person I courted. This is not the person that courted me. What happened? Why, how is it that they treated me this way? And now all of a sudden they're treating me this way. I don't get, and so with that, I ended up taking on a lot of pressure that I didn't deserve. I was taking on a lot of negative energy that I didn't even have to pick up, but I allowed myself to receive it because I, believed in my wedding vows and stuff. I loved my husband, you know, and for me, it wasn't like, it wasn't for a, all I can say is my mind I didn't just throw in the towel immediately. I actually was praying and fasting, all this different stuff for my marriage to work. However, it didn't. And that's when like you asked me in reference to me losing sight of myself. And I can say that because once I caught a hold of Melinda, it was at that point that I was able to say, I feel this or I think that. I had gotten to the place where I couldn't even think for myself. I couldn't
So,
think for myself.
mhm.
Well, how soon after you got married did it happen?
I was glad to say the same thing.
Both were, I'll say, within 30 days.
Wow.
So
Wow.
in the courtship, if you saw some signs and some red flags, but it didn't get to that degree until you actually got married. And we have a question: was he aware that he was abusive, or did he feel like the acts were normal?
And I
He told
think
me,
just to
oh,
clear it up, my cousin went through this twice with both marriages.
Oh wow. Okay. So wow. Okay.
So
yes.
what was your answer to the question?
Was he aware that he was abusive? I would say they were aware that they were controlling. I
Yeah.
would say that they're aware that they're um well, yeah, controlling and manipulative, very manipulative.
Mm,
So as far as the word being a narcissist, that word is not in their mind. However,
hmm
when you tie all of it together, that's exactly what that personality trait is. And it was just a matter of I can control you,
hmm
you know,
Did you?
because of the, go ahead, because of the fact that, you know, again, I believe God is the head of the household, the
Mhm.
husband is right, and then myself. And so I never tried to take his manhood away from him. However, I wasn't getting that in return.
Wow. B said you had two guys. Did you see similarities in the two?
Uh,
I didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't.
yeah, you there. No, they were like day and night.
Wow.
Well, let me say I won't say day and also let me say day and gray.
Wow.
I say like day and gray as far as being both, you know, I will say both of them had they have strong leadership capabilities, you
Mm,
know, and as far as um you know, people they're, you know, get along is, you know, like some people say, I never meet a stranger. So they were those kind, you know, they could talk to almost anybody. I'm the same way. I can talk to, I don't even have to know your name, but I'm pretty sure I can find something for us to discuss. And so for me, in my mind, that was all good,
mm-hmm.
you know, because we both were like that. Only difference is after being married is when all the other stuff started coming out, being controlling and manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the beginning, well, in the courting, I was fooled. Is fooled the word? That I was deceived to the fact of them embracing my independence. You know, they were glad I was an independent woman. I didn't have to have a man for this. I didn't have to have a man for that. And so in courting, they use that as a plus, as a a way of manipulating me. Because in my mind, okay, good. I don't have to take this down. I don't have to take that down. You know, they support. But
Mm-hmm.
then after being married, it's almost like a 180. It's like, wow, okay, where did that
Wow.
come?
I see a lot of the crosses behind you. Do you feel like they may have used your faith in God against you?
Oh yes, most
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Oh yes, most definitely. Did your love after the fact?
Oh, you didn't share it. What made you be silent? And so
Because
many,
you're embarrassed.
yeah.
First of all, yeah, yeah, you're embarrassed. Okay, how can you know, I'm like, I won't say I'm the social butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
However, I tend to have a strong personality. And I can laugh just about any and every little thing. And so for me, that was embarrassing because of Melinda, my
Mm-hmm.
character, who I am. I'm the one that can hold it together. I'm the one who can go forward. And so that's one of the biggest things that a victim goes through is the shame. So so as far as sharing it, it was like, no, I didn't want my family to know that how that person was treating me. And so in the meantime, I stayed silent. But at the same time, I'm still praying and believing God for change and, renew his mind. And he's going to love me the way I need to be loved, the way I
Mhm.
want to be loved. And, so that was a daily prayer.
Now, I saw a post that you did today saying that domestic violence doesn't always have to be somebody goes upside your head or hits
Mhm.
you. It can be, being talked to in a specific way, um, emotional, all kinds of things. And I never thought of it. I really never thought of it like that
Mhm.
until me and Red start getting into wanting to do this episode and talking about and discussing it, and I had to say, well, shoot, yeah, I have been through domestic violence because of the way somebody talked to me and made tried to make me feel. But you guys know I have a very strong personality, and um, instead of deal with that kind of stuff. Well, I let me not say that because I did deal with it for a little while because I thought, like you said, things were going to get better, but they didn't. And I had to I had to let go, and I had to realize that the dream that I had is never going to come to fruition because this person is literally out of their mind. And like you said, you don't see that in the dating phase. They know how to cover that up. And narcissist, oh my God,
Mhm.
that's a word.
Piece
That
of
is definitely a word. And it is,
Yes.
I experienced that with this one particular person. And I mean, if you look up narcissist, he's textbook,
Yes.
book.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I think sometimes we don't want to see it. Oh, because girl, he looks good or he treated me this way or blah, blah, blah. But,
Mhm.
you know, run, ladies.
Yes, ladies have been, and then even when it comes to your finances and stuff, they can try to be controlling even in that area because I experienced that as well. And I'll give this one example. There's quite a few, but I'm going to give this one example. And I just couldn't believe my mouth. I just couldn't believe that what was happening at that given time. But this particular time, I had to get some gas. And so our money was combined into one account. I will say, I do believe in everybody having a little nest on the side,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
See,
to
really
speak.
quickly, is Leslie one of our guests also?
I
Okay.
don't
That's a
know.
co-worker of mine.
Okay,
Oh,
you want to add her in? Okay.
Yeah,
you wanna add her into the podcast? Okay.
that's fine. Hey,
Okay.
Leslie.
Hi,
Hello.
Leslie. Hi. Go
So
ahead.
yeah, so this one particular day, so I needed to get some gas. So I went by the ATM machine, and so it wasn't Reese because all I got was $20 out, right? So I got $20. I was like, okay, well, I'll use 15 for gas, and I'll just have the other part in my pocket, for whatever.
Mhm.
Within 10 minutes, I got a phone call asking me had I been to the ATM machine to get some money.
Oh, wow.
$20. $20. And I'm not talking about I was totally dependent on this person's income. It wasn't a matter of, I just couldn't believe it for
Mhm.
$20. And
So
then I
you
was
couldn't
told
take out money and you said yours was combined, so you couldn't take out your own money without asking.
without asking.
But
Wow.
that is a form of financial and economic abuse. That's real.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Valerie asked, besides verbal abuse, before you were married, did he hit or shove you in any way? And when was the first time it happened?
No, 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 no. Everything happened afterwards.
Mm. Mm.
After the fact.
Mm.
Nothing happened before. It
Did
was
you?
after the fact. And that's why I was in so much shock. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
this ain't the person that courted me. This way. I want
Hmm.
that person to come back.
But
Did you
that's
guys go in therapy?
I'm sorry.
marriage counseling or therapy or anything like that?
But in the end, the mindset was that in going to a therapist, they're going to take your side anyway. So they didn't, so it wasn't taken serious. And so even for the second marriage, um, it was always manipulated. The sessions were manipulated. And so with that, because it was manipulated, i.e. everybody, although the mindset was for them was that everybody's going to always take my side, being
Mm,
the victim. However, manipulative relationships were built that did not have my best interest at heart.
mm,
And so, because it did not have my best interest at heart, and when I say my best interest at heart, that I really feel like the people that are involved, whomever it is, they need to be neutral. They should be a mediator that's not for one side or the other side. They should be just straight neutral. That way they can see it for full force for what it is and not be biased one way or the other. And in both cases, yeah, everything was always just manipulative and manipulated towards me. And that wasn't fair. So because of that, and because I could see that, I addressed those areas. And and saying it, not just saying, okay, well, I'm not going to go because this is just not right. But I would actually say why I'm not going as well, so that they would know that, okay, I can see you. You may not realize I can see you. You may want me to think that I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, or you may want me to feel like I'm less than, because that was the objective, was to always make you feel less than and to take away from. But again, in the courting stages, it wasn't like I was the best thing since sliced bread.
mm. So Leslie is one of your friends. So did she go
And
with you to this?
I can see that part. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. You in, V?
I was going to say hello?
We're here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to say I can say on her behalf that I didn't see any of, when I saw both her husbands, I didn't see any of it. They were just nice whenever they came around family and
Mm-hmm.
loving and it was a theater show, a theatrical show.
Mm-hmm.
So
There
when
you
she
go.
said it, I was like, "Oh my God. Wow." It was the most loving husbands I had ever seen. I'm like, "Wow,
Mm.
she's good." And
Mm.
like Crystal said, that's manipulation. It's definitely manipulation. And after we found out, family was angry.
Yes.
It was like, wow,
Yes.
you sitting at Thanksgiving table, and had we known this, you'd have been out back in the woods somewhere.
Mhm.
But
But did you feel like you had to protect him at any time? Do you feel like you
Yes.
protect him?
Yes, because you're ashamed of the fact of what you're going. I was ashamed of what I was going through. And
Mm-hmm.
so although I saw the ugly side, I still didn't want other people to see that ugly side.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, although he was tearing me down, I was still protecting him.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of how much he was still they were tearing me down, I was still protecting their name.
Yep. And yours on some level too, because you not Melinda being abused, that put
Yes.
together, got it going on and stuff. Not her going through that. So yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the beauty with the domestic violence gala that I just had, especially
Mm-hmm.
because we do a part. Felicia, like she stated, she's been to one before, but we actually have a ceremony where we do masking and unmasking. And so I always think about that, and it's very near and dear to me because of the mask that I wore, especially when it came to their names, my marriage, and stuff. And if a question was asked that the answer was just downright negative, I would always find a way to change the subject.
Mm.
Therefore, I wouldn't have to answer their question and take away from his character, because that's the thing. I was protecting his character.
Mm-hmm.
But
Were,
And while meantime he was manipulating mine, but yet I was protecting his.
wow. Were there any physical scars on you, black eyes or bruises or anything that you had to cover up and hide?
On that note, there was this one time, and I'm laughing now because I'm totally healed, delivered, and set free from it. But I went to, you know how you see the stuff on television where people, they make a joke out of it and say, well, I walked into the cabinet or I walked into whatever, whatever. Well, this particular, we had a, we had a moment, and I'll just say, I'll call it that, a moment. Well, we know I was being abused, but that was a moment that we went through. And so the next day I had to go to work and I had my shades on. And I used to always tease, I would make jokes. Why they got shades on and we inside? But no, good and well, they don't need no shades inside the building. But what was I doing that day? I had my shades on inside the building. And that particular day, well, one of the times I was actually drugged down a hallway. I had on, that evening. And so I was snatched up and drugged down a hallway. But what happened, it ended up hurting my leg. And so therefore I had a limp. So it was different things that for people who really paid attention, they could see it. I'll put it like that. It could be seen. But people who didn't know, then it was just another moment that I was going through. But the physical stuff never happened while we were recording. Everything took place after the fact. Even for the very derogatory name calling and just staying my character publicly. I got to a point, as a matter of fact, in both cases, I had gotten to the point where it's like I didn't know what to say, because sometimes once you go through it for a little while, you kind of understand that, okay, Lord knows what's going to happen when I get in the car. Because maybe I talked too much, maybe I didn't talk enough. Because it's like I couldn't win for losing with any conversation. And so there were times when me laughing and talking, being Melinda, get in the car. You shouldn't have said this. You shouldn't have said that. You was laughing about this. You was laughing about that.
Mm.
So then by this time, we go somewhere, I'm very quiet. Well, why you ain't saying that? You sitting up there, people thinking something wrong with you. You better get yourself together. You should have said this. You should have said that. And you should have did this and should have did that. And so I was so focused on protecting his character, trying to please him, accommodate him. I didn't know what to do. And that has happened in both cases. And even, I would get the certain looks, from your spouse. And so immediately you drop your head or just turn your head or whatever the case may be. Why? Because I didn't want other people to see it. However, different people did see the change in my demeanor immediately. So yeah.
Leslie, as a friend, how did you support her going through this situation?
Oh, we became friends later. This is before
Oh,
Leslie.
okay.
Yeah, this is before Leslie.
Yeah. I listened. She shared the story with me at work, and we both were able to relate. I was able to relate to Melinda's story through my mom.
Mm.
And so my mom suffered domestic violence. However, we look at the end result of it, and the end result is their relationship with Jesus Christ. And as a result of them both turning their lives over to God, they're still married today, 52, 53 years later.
Wow.
But we, being my brothers and I, we had to endure a lot as we watched my dad like physically beat her, as Melinda stated about the black eyes and how he disfigured her face. to where, busted lips, bruised cheekbones, swollen eyes, to where blue black circles around them, and then where when she laughed, tears because of the pain and because of all of the bustedness of it. Um, and us trying to make her laugh through the sadness, it would always be tears. But I think I shared with Melinda how um, me and my brothers in the project area that we grew up in, we were like the brunt of everybody's jokes. So it
Mm.
was like, did Willie beat Marianne last night? I mean, we saw her with them shades on, and so we would get on the bus and always be picked on um, by them saying smart, snide remarks like that. So we endured my mother going through a lot, being locked out of the house. And then my dad would come to my door and he would say, "And you better not open that window, or I'm gonna
Mm.
get you too." But it was the alcohol. So, of course, once I heard him snoring, then I would open my window and I would let her in, and she would sleep in the bed with me um, throughout
Wow.
the night. And then, yeah, being locked out of the house, being beat, furniture broke. Like, I think I shared that every weekend something was broken, dinette set broken, dishes broken, and my mom being there cleaning everything up because that alcohol spirit like kept him like just tearing the house up, beating her, beating my brothers. He never beat me. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. But I always stayed hid somewhere in the corner, like crouched up. I think I told somebody that I believe I became an intercessor at the age of 5 because I
Wow.
would always find myself in the corner, like asking God to please let daddy stop hurting mama, or please let daddy stop breaking stuff in the house, type thing. So, yeah, I was able to relate from that perspective. And so when she did mention about the being drug, and, my heart went out because that it caused me to see my mom, my dad in action, like with the abuse with my mom. So,
Yeah, I experienced that too. We have a question. As children and seeing what your father did to your mother, how do you now view your father?
oh, I love him to life.
Mm.
And I love him to life again because he was able to turn his life around.
Mm.
She got beat for 13. So I was 5 when it started. He didn't stop until I left at 18 to join the army. So I would say it went on for 13 to 15 years. Because when I was in Germany and I called one day, she told me that he pushed her or went upside her head or something again. She was vacuuming and she didn't hear him call her. And so he either pushed her or went upside her head. And one of my brothers grabbed a broom or something out of the kitchen and he's like finally broke. And he said, "Touch her again and I'll kill you."
Mm.
So he ran my dad like all the way up the tracks. And my mom said that my dad didn't stop running till he got to the police station. And then he brought the police back around trying to press charges on my brother because he finally stood up like after,
Mhm.
13, 15 years. Like,
Mhm.
no, we're grown men now, basically, and we're not gonna let you do this again. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think then I called because I was in Germany 2, 3 years, and about my second year there, that's when I learned that they had both given their lives to Christ. And so they've been saved now well over 30 some years now.
Wow,
That's
that's
So
awesome.
that's
yeah, that I love him. I showered him with so much love. Like I became like back a Christian again, like how we
Mm.
renew, rededicate. I think around the age of 24. And so I just learned to forgive and to heal in that forgiveness and asking God to just help me to forgive him. And so we had his birthday party when he turned 70. And that's when I like really, really got free. Um, I thought that I had been free from it, like forgiving some years back, but the more I walk with God, the closer I got with God, that's when I realized, like once and for all, like really, really let go and be done. And so it was then, and I told him, I said, I forgive you. Like
Mm.
the room was full, like all of his family, everybody. And so that's when I told him I forgive him, that I love him, and that I would spend the rest of my years, that I didn't know which one of us would leave first, but I would spend the rest of my years loving him and giving him the love that wasn't given when we were children, because he spent so much time like the streets and the alcohol and all of that.
Wow.
And I think the
Mm.
alcohol, I mean, that is like huge. I mean, like that's the thing that takes a lot of people out of themselves and makes them do things that they wouldn't normally do. I've
Yeah.
experienced it, didn't know what it was when I was younger. I used to, and my aunt is on here, so I don't know if she wants to say anything, but I remember, my grandmother, and I don't remember whether my it was my grandmother's boyfriend, whether he hit her or not, but I just remember my uncle and him fighting in the house and him being thrown out the house. And he was a drunk, and he would come in and cause issues and say things. And I was really, really young then. And at that time, you don't know. I don't know. I didn't know what it was. I don't even know we actually called it domestic violence back then. It was,
Mm.
something that it happened every weekend almost.
Mm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and now growing up, of course I recognized it a long time before now, but that was a form. You seeing it growing up, and you don't know what it is, and you may think that it's something that just happens in the household, and you get used to it.
Mm.
Um, so what do when you grow up and have your own relationship, how did you handle your own relationship? Did you say, well, I don't want anybody that's anything near like my daddy? Or, well, it happened, so, I'll forgive him for this. How did you handle your own relationships when you got old enough to have one?
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, for myself, I was like, I told my mom at the age of 10, because it had gotten worse and worse and worse. And at the age of 10, I said, I'm never getting married. And she took and hugged me so tight. And she said, baby, please don't say that. She said, because every man out there is not like your dad. And she said, it's the alcohol that has him the way that he is. She said, but outside of that, he's a good man. And from a child's eyes, I'm like, I don't see a good man. I
Mhm.
see a horrible person. And I told her, I said, Mommy, I don't care. I am never, ever, ever getting married. But I met my husband in the military in Fort Polk, and we ended up sharing similar stories, because when we dated, I told him, I said, we had a serious talk, and I said, I don't ever, no, no, no. I said, if you ever need a reason to leave me, or for me to leave you, I can't remember which way, but I said, all you have to do is you hit me one time and I'm gone. I said, because I watched my dad do this for 13 plus years to my mom. I said, and I refuse to be a victim. And then my husband reassured me and said, well, if I have to put my hands on you for any reason, then that means that I don't need you, because that's not what I'm looking for. But at
Right.
the same token, he shared the same story to where his dad did it to his mom as well. A very, very intricate part that I did not share is that I want to say I know we're stair steppers, so it's like 5, 6, 7, and maybe 10 or 11. There's a 3-year difference. But we were like in the range of 5 to 9 or so. And we watched my dad, he put a gun to my mom's head
Hmm.
and he actually pulled the trigger. But it was by the Holy Spirit that caused that bullet to trigger right before her nose, like because he was shaking, his hand was shaking and he screamed at the same time. It's almost like a person committing suicide, to where when they're going to pull the trigger, they scream and they pull. So he screamed and he pulled the trigger, but it came out from by her head and went. And they still have that screen at their back window with that bullet hole in it where he had fired that weapon. My
That's
husband told me that his dad did the same thing in an upstairs apartment. They lived above a store, and they had an apartment upstairs. And his dad shot the weapon at his mom with an intent to harm, hurt, kill, or what have you. So he said we both share similar stories, and we both was like, this will be our one and done. And like, if it doesn't work with us, we never remarry again, that we say we gave it a try. Here we are 28 years later. And
That's
it's only by the grace of God. And because we, keep God first. Um, I got saved like 20, we married at, I was 23. And I got saved at 23, like 6 months into our marriage.
wow.
And we went to Korea. So he told me, he said, I told him I give him 6 months that we're over there and he'll be a Christian. And then he say, I give you 6 months and you a backslide. So I ended up winning out, prayer, prayer changes things. So he became a Christian in Korea, and like having Jesus at the center of our marriage has what's kept us bonded and glued together. So
that's
Amen.
awesome.
yeah.
I think my aunt came in and said that I was right. And one of the key things that I see in all the stories is that um, she said that once my grandmother's boyfriend, I don't want to say any names, um, changed his life, things changed and he regretted it. Um, I think that's the key. Once people realize that I'm not doing right, they
Mm.
start praying or going to church or just sitting within themselves and saying, I'm not doing right. Then they realize and they feel sorry. Um,
Mhm.
and like you as a kid seeing that, sometimes it was funny because my grandmother had sometimes my uncle to protect her, and I would see them fighting. He would throw him out in the street, and that was funny to me. I was a kid. Um, but when he was sober and he was a good man. And I couldn't, couldn't understand the difference of, when he goes down the street and get drunk, he come back, he's a totally different person. But when he's not drunk, he was a good person. Um, so like you said, growing up, first time a man holler at me or want to hit me or whatever, I'm out. I'm gone.
Mhm.
So um people deal with things very differently. My cousin, she stayed, tried to make it work because of her faith in God and marriage. Whereas on the other hand, me, first time you hit me, I'm gone. The first time you say something crazy to me, I'm out. You
Yeah.
know, and sometimes you can turn these things around like your mother and your father. But I just never wanted to sit around and wait for that because
And
Mhm.
I had to take in consideration also, is this a picture of what I want my daughter to see in
Mhm.
reference to me? Because, for decades it was just me, her and the Lord, she and I, taking on the world. And during in that season, that was my mindset, because I didn't want her to see me with, just say you date somebody for a year, stuff don't work out, then you date somebody. I didn't want that for her. So therefore I didn't do all the dating. So she always saw the strong version of Melinda. And so even in living and being married in the home, so there were things at that point that she started seeing. And so she and I would talk about it, and then I would just sit there and look. And the only thing that was going through my mind is, this is not a good example of what marriage is supposed to be like. I'm witnessing, she's supposed to see sides and traits of me that she wants to mimic.
Mm.
And
Right.
me sitting here being a doormat for somebody, I'm pretty sure that's not something she wants. I know that's not anything that she wants for me. So why should I allow myself to remain in a relationship where that's the tone of it?
Right.
And so that has a lot to do with it also. And I will say, um, like they sometimes, you reap the harvest, and then sometimes you just live it long enough for somebody else to reap the harvest of the seed that you have already sown. So I say that to say, in both cases now, their mindset and their faith is different than when we were together. And so I've said to myself, well, one plants, one waters, God brings the increase. I guess I was the one planting the seed.
Somebody else.
I planted the seed for somebody else. Yeah. So but God is faithful. And at the end of the day, I'm okay. Because I had to learn, there's a difference. Somebody's your assignment, or is that person your spouse?
Mm.
And so I had to learn that they were assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Wow. So, what advice would you give to women who want to support their friends who are being abused, but aren't yet strong enough to lead?
just continue to love on them, and don't judge. Don't judge them,
Mm-hmm.
and don't have the conversation of, well, if it was me, I would yada yada yada. If it was me, I would yada. You don't know what you would do until you get in that situation. Because I used to say the same thing. No man better
Mhm.
not hit me. No man better not talk to me like that. I'm a queen. Better not say this to me, better not say that to me, and I make my own money and yada 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 yada. And then all of those areas, I allow myself to get manipulated and controlled. It
Right.
wasn't there in the beginning, but as I stated, it just got to the place where that like, I just go back to that $20 story. I went to the ATM machine and got $20,
Yeah.
and
You
then
know,
I was questioned.
and I think a lot of times when people go through situations like that, the first thing people holler is, "Oh, you got low self-esteem, or you don't have a lot of confidence about yourself," and that's not always the truth.
Mm-mm. No, no, it's not always the truth at all. Again, you're protecting your marriage, your spouse's character, and everything. But the women, we're nurturers by nature.
Absolutely.
We're prayer warriors by nature. So it's a gift that's there, and I would just tell anybody, hold true to who you are. That doesn't mean you have to be demeaning, undermining, and nasty about it, but in strong faith and courage, be the bold and confident person that you can be. Am I telling anybody as soon as you go through something, you'll get a divorce? Nope, I'm not saying that at all, because it takes faith to go from here to there. Now, even if it comes to, well, I will say this, even when that particular time when I was drugged down the hallway, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. But I do know at that point, I was still very much in love with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And although that happened, my mindset was, that was the last time. I can remember it. I was sitting, I remember I came in from work the next day, and I'm sitting in the chair and I'm saying, that was the last time. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to love me. He's going to respect me for who I am. And sometimes a separation is needed. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it doesn't get to that. But for me, that's the only thing I can say. Hold on to the best version of you and keep it moving
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, for your child, for ministry. Hold on to the best version of you, one moment at a time.
So what do you tell the woman who doesn't have that kind of faith that you have? maybe not even believe in God.
Look in the mirror. I was telling them to look in the mirror. Start off by looking in the mirror, because that was another thing. Because of what I was going through, because of what I was living, and because of who I am and who I was standing to be, I got to the place I couldn't even look in the mirror to get dressed. You know, like you get dressed, you put your clothes on, and then you look in the mirror, make sure everything is neat and tidy. Because I was denied being Melinda in so many different ways, I got to a place I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. So that's one of the first things that I would tell somebody. When you get to that point, look yourself in the mirror and speak what you see, which in faith means you're speaking as to where you want to go. Look in the mirror, because like as I stated, I got to the point I couldn't look in the mirror because I know that wasn't the real me, and I didn't like what I saw. And then to have a mindset to well, like I got to a point that I wouldn't say I'm sorry as form of apology. And I've heard other people actually say that, well, if you're not saying you're sorry, then that's not real a real apology, because I'm sorry, you're saying that's a humble state. And then I explained to them why. Because me saying I'm sorry, that was actually that was actually flipped and turned on me. I said I was sorry, and then in return I was told, you're right, you are sorry, yada 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 yada. So
Mhm.
for me, I got to the place where I couldn't say that. And even to just say it, um, even just I'm not going to say even just to him, but I had to get to where I couldn't say it, period, because it would bring on an anxiety for me by me saying that word. Now, I'm sorry, I can say it today because I've grown, healed, and been delivered and set free from the sting of that particular thing. So again, I would say somebody who's going through stuff, tell them take a deep breath, breathe, and look in the mirror. And what do you want to see? Just look in the mirror. Because I'm telling you, that's the biggest thing. Because when you look in the mirror, you think about the scars, you think about the whatever it is whatever physical thing that has taken place, you'll start seeing reflections of that. So take a good look in the mirror. What do you want? Do you even know, initially, I didn't even know what I wanted. All I knew was it wasn't right. And I got that from listening to Joyce. I'm a follower of Joyce Myers.
I like her
And
too.
so even somebody who, if you're not strong in faith, what do you want to see? Can you look at yourself in the mirror? Because at the end of the day, everybody should be able to look at themselves. And if you're being treated the way you don't want to be treated, then you're not seeing what you want to see when you look in the mirror. So you have to get enough courage to look in the mirror. So that's what it is. That's one of the things that I would tell somebody. And I would ask them, have you ever taken the time to just look in the mirror? Not without all the makeup and everything, because even so, like if you have scars on your face and stuff, what are you doing? You put no makeup to cover it up. Look in the mirror with the true you. And what do you want to see? Because it's hard to look in the mirror.
I agree. Well, Tanya had a question. She said, in that process, did you reach out for help, the authorities, and if so, were you supported?
Yes, because I know one time I had to get a restraining order. And then another time, yeah. I had a restraining order done one time, and then another time, in just picking up things, belongings and everything. I had a police there with me so that there wouldn't be any kind of foolishness. And at that point, it didn't matter to me. It wasn't a matter of, well, you trying to you embarrassing me in the neighborhood, and you trying to make me look like this, and you trying to be. I didn't care about any of that. All I know is I wanted to get my stuff and be gone. And then and with the other situation, here we go again. I just need for you to be gone. I don't care about this. I don't care. For once, I did not care what their character looked like to somebody else. I didn't care. I could care less what their character looked like, because at that point, it was about me. And so since it was about me, I was able to have the courage to take necessary steps to get a bit to be me. I'm not even gonna say get a better. I'm just gonna say the simple part of just to get me. Yeah.
Right. And Crystal wanted to know, did you ever remarry? And if not, do you believe you will again?
Oh yes, I most definitely will marry again. Oh yeah, I believe in marriage. I do. I truly believe in marriage.
Well,
I
your
sure
parents
do.
been married since they were toddlers, so you gotta believe in me.
Exactly. Yeah, my parents. Yeah. Ooh, I'm how old am I? 53? I'll be 53 in December.
During December.
Yes, because I'm
And
you 3 years
my
old.
parents, is it 51 or 50? I think 51 years my parents have been married. Yeah. Yeah. And my dad's like the, you know, and he everybody Uncle Lynn or he everybody daddy, he's everybody granddaddy, he's yeah. So so yeah, depending on the year, the authorities didn't respond to. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna like as I stated when I went and did the restraining order. Um, I went there, I gave my statement and everything, and bam, stuff was put in place instantly. Papers were served and the whole 9 yards. When I went to go get my belongings and everything, I had already called because I didn't know what the mindset would be with me going there. So I had, called. The police was there when I got there. They would discuss how we were, how our communication was at that given time. So you know what he was getting into when he walk inside. And I would say I am so glad that when I went to go get my stuff that I notified the authorities and that they went with me, because based on the words coming out of his mouth, he had a plan for me. I don't know what the extent, I don't know what the degree. It might have even been just to talk to me in another manipulative manner. I don't know what it was. I didn't care. But based on, because it got to the point at first, he just stayed at the doorway. And so I'm gathering my belongings, and then the police had to actually get in front of him
Mm.
because of the stuff that he started saying towards me. And you could just tell, we can tell when somebody's getting angry,
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. And so that's what was beginning to take place. And like I said, the policeman went and stood directly in front of him. And I was like, wow, thank you, Lord. Because if I had not gone and had the policeman to come there, who knows what direction that would have gone in, you know.
I can see that. And
If I
back to what
may, oh, I'm sorry. I
to
wanted
what
to
you said
like
that.
share a I think it's called Psychology Today, um, where it has a lot of list of psychologists that do marital counseling, couples counseling. And I just encourage that if there are women that are in the situation or see it and want to head it off, there are resources out there, and just encourage to go that route, even if we start with ourselves, because I know even in my marriage with my husband, we talked the D word, I would say, probably about year 12, and then again year 15, and now we're here at year 28. But um, realizing that I had to take care of me. So when we reach out and get that help, to say, I'm going to start inwardly with me so that we can survive through it and so that we can come out on the other side of it. And whether that coming out means that we come out together or we come out going our separate ways, we have our dignity, we have our pride, we have everything that God intended for us to have to come out on the other side of it. Um, at one point I found myself nearly drowning, like, because I spent so much time, like, I want this to work. I want this to work. And I was becoming so engrossed with us that I was losing me. in trying to take care of us. And
Mhm.
so, in order that a woman not lose herself, I would say just reach out. Like if he's at work and you're at home mom, or you may even be at work, but they have the virtual sessions. They even email you if you're not able to meet the sessions, and they'll reach out that way. And you just find yourself, like, even if it was journaling, it's somebody else on the other side that's with you, and somebody there that is able to guide you through it and help you see your way clearly. When we say, well, let's, like, maybe not have God in it, or I'm not fully there yet in my faith, or I'm not really sure I believe God. Well, even if we remove that and just say the counseling, or somebody that can be there, to hear you, somebody that'll hear your voice and be able to help you, to work through it and navigate through the journey of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. And like Darius said in his message, that back in the 70s, and that's when, like I said, my grandmother was experiencing, they didn't really call the police until it got too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, you handle it, or, people in the neighborhood knew what was going on, but it wasn't a whole lot of calling the police,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mhm.
And it wasn't, and like I said, people didn't call it domestic violence back then. It was just,
Hmm.
oh, he fighting, and people knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever
Hmm.
tried to come in and do anything or intervene or anything like that. One of the other things I want to talk about, because I talked to a young lady the other day, and she was talking about how she don't like soft guys, and how she like a man with a little roughness around the edges. And she was telling me about her boyfriend, and I had heard that her boyfriend was, a little rough with her sometimes, but she said she likes that, you know, not maybe knock her upside the head, but kind of talk to her. You know, he got to be able to get me straight. And I'm like, that you do realize that when a man talks to you out of character, calls you all kinds of names and stuff like that, that is because she saw that we put the advertisement up for domestic violence. I said, you do
Mm-hmm.
realize that's a sort of domestic violence. And she said,
Right.
I guess it's not domestic violence if I accept it and I want it.
Wow. Low
Ah,
self-image.
right. And that's initially what I said. But then I'm thinking, like, why would you want somebody to call you out your name and say all kinds of crazy stuff to you,
Mm-hmm.
to make you feel like, he make me feel like he want me? That doesn't make me feel like you want me. That makes me feel like I'm just a possession, or I'm just, you don't care. Crystal said women say that all the time. But why? Why?
But my grandmother, God rest her soul, um, I was helping her make her bed. I want to say around 2010, around about 2010, and she's since passed. But we were making her bed, and she said to me, um, "Dwayne ever hit you?" Like, that's my husband. She called my name, and she said, "Dwayne ever hit you?" And I just fell over on her bed laughing. And I said, "Grandma," I said, "you never, ever, 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 ever have to worry about my husband hitting me." And I told her we had to talk. So then my grandmother says, "Child, Arthur used to beat me all the time." And she just fell out laughing. And I'm like, "Grandma." So I'm thinking, I don't know if that's where, well, but I've seen, the connection to where when my dad was doing it to my mom, and this is my grandmother maternal, um, and then she was taught to stay because my granddaddy did it, and my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother stayed, and they were married 60 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother, and now they're 50, in their 50s of anniversary. So they say you work through it. I'm not for sure what that connection is of why, because that's the words that my grandmother used. That it was to keep her in line. So I don't know if it may have been the tone of like the way they spoke to men back then in the 70s, 60s. You know, how they were taught, you know, you keep in the house and you keep in your mouth at the same time. So
Right.
then if you go a little sideways, then they feel like they got to bring you back in line type thing. And I think that's more so what how my grandmother saw it back then. It was like to keep her in line. And that's the only way that I can relate, like to kind of understand what she was saying in that sense back then.
Wow.
And it may be the same. Maybe this young girl has experienced that through a grandmother or something, and because she says something just like it, "I need a man that know how to handle me." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"You want him to handle you that kind of way?" Because she told me, she's like, "I can get out of pocket sometimes." And I'm like, "But
Mm.
but
Hmm.
domestic violence ain't the way for him to handle."
No,
Right.
no.
Mm.
Right.
A man can
And
talk to you just as much as he can put his hands on you and curse
Right.
you, beat you up.
Right.
You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
I
yes, yes. It's just
Mm.
a low self image, a low self image that
Mhm.
the person has in reference to themselves. You know, you see yourself as, you know, like for the person to make that statement, I need somebody, roughing me up. Well, I don't need
Mm.
you to treat me like
Mm.
trash in order for me to know that.
right.
No, 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 no. That's no, we weren't. No, that's
But
not.
it seems that that has to be something within her that causes her to believe that theory of this is how this should be done. It's either the eye gate, the ear gate of seeing, a combination of seeing and hearing this sort of thing, whether it be through TV, through a family member. There's some type of connection that causes us to believe a certain way and to believe, like, what is it within her that make her feel that she's out of line, or what is it within her that makes her feel. So it's something. Does that make sense? It has to be
Mhm.
something
Yeah, it's cause and
that's
effect.
triggering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cause and effect. Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of times they
Yeah.
lose sight of what the cause is on their behalf.
Yeah.
They see it as the cause is because they didn't want me to say this, they didn't want me to do that. And so therefore that's why he lashed out, or that's why she lashed out because. And so the effect on them, they didn't take it like it should have been. Again, that's a cause and effect concept that took place within those the individuals that will allow themselves to be treated in that manner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Crystal. That was unheard of back then for a woman to stay. I mean, to leave an abusive marriage. It was just different back then. And you said because of this, she had to work 3 jobs to raise 4 children. A lot of people say,
Yeah. But there's always a way. I am a
mhm,
true firm believer, and especially nowadays, is every almost any kind of assistance that a person needs is out there. It's just a matter of the person have the confidence and the boldness and the courage to get out there and do
absolutely.
what's best, because the question becomes, and that was another thing I had to learn, is it better for me to stay married and let my child see me get totally disrespected and go on all this stuff, or or which is better for me to stay in a bad relationship in front of my child, or for me to have a peaceful home without it?
Wow.
And so when I thought about when I actually compared the two, I'm like, you know what, again, that's why I went decades and everything without dating, because
Mhm.
that was still an example for her. And we had a peaceful home full of joy with no arguing, no, it was just, it was It's, like when you have a bird and all they do is just fly away and do
Mhm.
whatever. So it was like that. It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. It was a peaceful environment. Whereas, if I had stayed in those situations, I got to pray all the way home. Oh, Lord, I hope I have a good night, or I hope they don't. Hope I say the right thing when I go in the house, or vice versa. And pulling up, and it's like, okay, they ain't made it home yet, so I got here first.
Right.
Mm.
Walking on
You know?
eggshells.
Exactly. And so like, again, I would never tell somebody to leave. However, I would ask that question: which do you think is better for your child? For your child to see you getting abused, or for you to raise a child in a peaceful, laughing, and loving home?
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be on that individual to answer that question accordingly as to what they want for their child. Because one thing we do, and like with Leslie in her case, she actually broke the generational curse because she had already seen it go through to her two previous
Mm-hmm.
generations. And so she was that third generation, and she's like, we're gonna stop this right now. We're not going down this road. And because of her being
Amen.
able to stand on what she believed in, she let it be
Mhm.
known, and bam.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Grandma,
where that
did Dwayne hit you? You said, is Dwayne living?
Okay. Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am, indeed. Mm.
Mhm. That is it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, listen, this was more than we expected. Leslie, we didn't even know you were coming on with a whole story of your own. So we
Wow.
truly appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And Linda, you already know I love you to life and back
Mhm.
again. Um, and I knew your story, and I knew that people would be blessed to hear it. Tell the people who don't know about your books, because I want them to go out there and buy. I mean, because she told her story in the books, and that can
Yes.
help. So if you do have a friend
Yes.
who's going through it, I mean, you can start with buying a book and giving it to your friend and say, "Hey, read this."
Mhm.
Yes. And
Um,
like say the title of the book is Crack Not Shattered. And the crack come from the fact that I had been institutionalized.
Mm.
So yeah, and not shattered, I'm still together. You know, I might have been out of my way of thinking, but regardless, I'm not shattered.
Mm.
So that's the whole thing in that. And I share my story at the same time. After each chapter, there's one or two questions after each. I want to say it's two questions at the end of each chapter, and every last one of them is a self-reflect based on that particular chapter, and then you doing a self-reflection within that. Also, towards the end of it, it actually goes into positive declarations that you can give yourself. It goes into how to be free. It actually goes through steps. It's not a very thick book. However, it's a powerful short book. I think I'll say it like that. That's about the best way
Mhm.
to say it.
and where
And
can they get it?
you can order that on Amazon. Crack Not Shattered. You see my beautiful face. On different, I think I have on blue. And you can get it off of Amazon, or if you want to get it personally autographed, then you can reach out to me, because of Felicia will put all my information out there or whatever. And then if you order directly from me, I can what do you call it? I'll autograph your book and give you a couple words of empowerment, inspiration, and I'll put it off in the mail for you.
Right. Well, I'll get that. I'll get your information and put it out there for them to. I have the picture already out there of the book,
Mhm.
but I'll put
Yes,
the.
and my other one, 21 Days for Your Breakthrough, is actually like a glass that has been shattered. This one is shattered, but there's a person that's going through the glass. So although it's right there, they're going through it. And so that's what it is for the individual as well that is reading the book at that time, to see yourself going through that glass.
Nice.
Yeah. And coming out whole, because when you go through the glass, it's not somebody like with the arm over here and the foot over there, whatever. It's still a whole body that actually went through it. So
Mhm.
that's what life is about each and every day.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And based on what Crystal Marie has said, as her cousin looking from the outside and seeing all this happen. Y'all, my cousin is strong. That's all I can say because she kept us unaware until the end. And, um, I would have liked to have been there for her through it and during that time, but I think that, you know, she knew what she was doing, and she's come out on the other end, and now she's helping other women, and I commend her for that. I mean, it's a huge thing, and every year she has this gala to support, and I just want to say I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I've
Thank
seen
you.
her grow, and we go through our experiences, and I hate to say it this way, but you go through things, you come out on the other end better for it.
Mm.
I hate that she had to go through that to get to this point, but she's a minister now, and she just it's just an awesome story. Uh,
I'm a good package.
and she tell y'all, but she got another prospect right now that loves her to death. Well, no, loves her to life. Let's say that. So,
Mm.
yeah.
But this has been awesome, ladies. Awesome.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you. I'm honored that you all invited me to the show. I'm honored.
And
Mhm.
we're
Yes.
happy that you brought Leslie to us as well.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
thank you, Melinda. Yeah,
that gave it
thank
from
you.
a different perspective. So that I mean that's great because a lot of people don't think about it in that manner as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to do, to share our stories and open eyes to any and everybody who
Mm-hmm.
can. As a matter of fact, there was a question that says, how can we help children who are going through this now? That's when you just plant the and you don't necessarily have to single somebody out. It could be as simple as you just dropping a card or a note, and just say if it's a child, just give them the note, because what they're gonna try, they're gonna deny it. Why? Because they already know the parent doesn't want them to get into the home information. So if anything, if you have a card or whatever, just find a way to I want to say anonymously get it to that child, or to get it to that child. And more than likely that child is going to reach out.
Mm.
That child is going to reach out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys. I know this has been like I saw somebody say in the comments this has been real heavy. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, we had both stories ended up being great stories. Leslie's parents are still together. They found God, and they're still together. And Melinda came out on the other side unscathed. She still has her bruises and her memories, but she's doing awesome, guys. I can honestly say that she's doing awesome. So thank
I'm
you
not
guys
crying
for
anymore.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a part of Inspire Her.
Thank you. We
Yes.
Thank you.
appreciate you guys. We and
You
we
too.
don't even know what's gonna happen when we start these episodes, but they always seem to be awesome. Like, God doing some
Yes.
good things. And
Yes.
and we appreciate you guys for helping us along the way.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
you'll be hearing from some people once I put your information out there. And thank y'all all for listening, for
Yes.
listening, for
Yes.
commenting, for being on here with us. And like Crystal says, that smile. She always has a smile on her face.
Mhm.
Always got a smile on her face. So
And
yeah.
it's genuine now, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Inspire her, the total woman with red and fee. Like, I can't say it anymore. Like our pages, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We want to keep this information coming out to you guys. Send us messages. There may be something that you want to talk about. Let us know. We'll try to we'll get on here. Me and Red will chop it up with you guys, or we'll get a guest to come on. We're gonna try to start having more lives. we got some things in store. Go to our page. We have a retreat February 24th through the 27th, 2023, where we're gonna all come together. 10 ladies and me and Ray are gonna go to Hilton Head, and we are going to come together and talk about things. Who knows? Anything could happen during this time.
Mhm.
We are going to have we have no holds barred. It's still gonna be no holds barred, but it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna spend some time with each other, getting to know each other. And when we leave up out of Hilton Head, we're gonna have 10 new friends.
Mhm.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well,
Red,
no, you said it all. This has been amazing. I appreciate you guys for being a part
Yes, yes,
and sharing
yes,
your amazing stories.
thank
yes,
you.
God bless
Thank y'all for having me.
We love having you. Thank you.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So
All
thank
right,
you,
guys.
Crystal, and all of our guests. We're going to end the live now. We appreciate you all.
Appreciate you too.
All
Good
Good
right.
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.